Right, we are on. Go ahead and record these. Yeah, how'd it come out? Come out pretty good? Good. Awesome. Trying to get all these little weeds out of my hand. Oh, it was like beautiful. Day was beautiful. It was a little bit windy, so it wasn't hot, right? Yeah, nope, I don't like the heat. That's why it's gonna be a big difference. Okay, who do we got? Look at their stuff right here. Actually, been out this morning. Oh, it's no big deal. I don't mind if they change the times or whatever, especially being physicians, because they're treating not like, you know, they're doing paperwork, just sitting there doing nothing. Yeah, so I don't mind. Different schedule, whatever. And then like, yeah, whatever you want to do, like as far as moving things around, I would prefer you do stuff and change things. And then later on, if I don't like it, you know, we can fix it then. But feel free to just do whatever, change whatever. I don't care. Yeah, and then it's always easier to talk about it later, you know? Yeah, I'm not a micromanager. Do whatever you want to do and fix it. And you know the cool thing about this though, like the cool thing about your business that you're in, you can tell very quickly because it's service-based biz. It's not like an invest, buy a property and find out a year later, like, hey, this was a good deal, this deal. Yeah, your stuff's like instant gratification. That's why I kind of like working with you. Right? Right? I was telling my friend the other day, like the difference in not only culture, but in pricing, in value system, like the optic. You understand that? Like the optic is completely different than anything I would have ever imagined. Yeah. So then I can actually imagine like, wow, God, I can imagine you pick people from this place. Yeah, it's just very interesting, right? Okay, so what info? Oh, they'll tell us all that stuff. Yeah, they'll tell us all that stuff. Yeah, I saw the last one just log in. How's my voice sound? Sound all right? It does? All right, I don't have any water around. So, okay, go ahead and let them in. Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's nice to finally meet you. Somebody's from Canada in there. Which one of you's from Canada? I picked it up almost right away. Ooh, that Canada accent is thick. I'm gonna put the syrup away when you come my house. Yeah. No, it's nice to finally meet you. Yeah. Unfortunately, you know, I do something other than just go to the gym, you know, unfortunately. Fortunately, I actually do other things than just go to the gym, like my Instagram profile. Yeah. A little bit of everything. Like I used to own a business, right? In my early 20s that I ran for a while. And then I got into medicine and now I'm pretty much doing whatever, kind of, you know, in many different aspects. Oh yeah, it was horrible. There's pros and cons to everything. Remember that. There's pros and cons to everything. So for every con that you think you got, there's actually a lot more benefit. Yeah, because like if God puts me in a situation, right, then I know it's for my benefit and I'm gonna take advantage of it in any way I can. Exactly. And it's kind of been like that. I don't really care. I really don't. Like I just like the process. I like the transaction. I like dealing with the character, the personalities, right? Yeah. So today I was out actually with a realtor who specializes in forest land. Like that's all he does, like big tracts of forest land. And so I called him maybe like, I want to say a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I said, hey, if ever you come across like listings that had just been clear cut, like I'm talking just clear cut. So they'll go out in Oregon, right? And they'll drop like 100 acres and they'll just drop them. And then they'll sell the acreage raw, right? But it kind of looks ugly because it just got, you know, clear cut. No, I used to be a tree hugger until you used to realize like what happens in very dense forest. Not only like the fire concerns, right? But also the soil. So there's a lot of research, right? Why actually clear cutting and actual forest management does really well for the environment. Yeah, so was out there contacting him and he's like, he comes off as this like 6'3". I mean, he kind of looks like you, honestly. Yeah, he kind of looks like you. Like very big, very tall, very just like corporate style, very just straight shooter, you know? And he just kept saying the word big over and over and over, right? And so at some point, right, he says, yeah, look at this big land and look at this, like this is a very big stump and this is a very big thing, you know? And then I said, I wish my girl talked about me like that. And at that point, we just started like, he looked at me and he just started like laughing, you know? And it was like that transition in humor a little bit to where he was like, okay, these guys aren't like corporate killers, you know? No. And that little transaction like just totally changed the narrative. And so we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we'll see how it works out. Like you'll see, let's say for example, 50 to 100, and then you'll make offers on like 20, 25. And out of those 20, 25, then you might get to like 5 to 7, really decent. And then out of those 5 to 7, you might close 1 to 3. Yeah, it's a volume biz, right? Yeah, so it was not only about going out and seeing that property, but it was about establishing a relationship too, right? And so that's overall what we were trying to get done. But man, I got like weeds, thorns. In Oregon, no, not a whole lot of snake. Not where I live anyway. I live like closer between Portland and the coast. coast. Yeah, I was out there in boots and everything. Not sure if you could see them, but got my boots on. Oh, it's an experience. Yeah, and you're out there in the fresh, nice outdoors. It's great. It really just depends. I was kind of I was kind of messing with them a little bit. Yeah, I told them, I said, listen, I think we'll probably put the browns over there and probably put the blacks over there and then the whites over there. And he was like, oh, what are you guys thinking about doing? And I said, cemetery. It'll be the first racist cemetery. Oh God, he was almost like falling on the floor laughing at that point. It was hilarious. Yeah, it's gonna be the first racist cemetery, you know? We'd probably put you in the shade, right? We'd probably put him more so in the sun. Yeah, yeah, and then right when you get up in the beginning, that would be the pet cemetery. That'd be where all the pets are. It really, you know, honestly, I just like the process of raising credit and buying assets with it, whether that's land or businesses, whatever. So I'm more so in it for the process, that like 60 to 90 day hunt, you know, like that's what's really exhilarating. Once it comes to management and actually overseeing it, that's when I know there's a lot more better qualified, passionate people geared for that, you know? Yeah, that's where you hand it over to like the Dutch or the German and say, manage this thing, please. I don't know what to do with it. Yeah, like there was this guy that I met maybe, wow, 15 years ago. And that's where I learned most of everything from. Yeah, that's really what it is, honestly. It's like learning information from people, finding mentors, finding examples, and then going out and applying it massive volume, right? Yeah, so like when you're studying for your step, you know, you would have 3,000 or 4,000 questions, you would do them. It's very similar this aspect, I would say. And you just can't be afraid to fail. Yeah, even on vacation. Yeah, you're sitting there in Tulum or whatever. Well, probably not Tulum because there's a lot of seaweed there now. Yeah, seaweed. Yeah, that and the local women, they're like the short Mayan women, Incan women, Aztec women. So not my cup of tea specifically, right? But you're sitting there and you see all this like just like peaceful serenity, nice area, but mentally you're thinking about work, right? There's no off button for this. No, there isn't. And so sometimes when I talk with people and they're like, hey, I want to go buy a business and oh, I want to get into real estate and all this stuff, you're looking at like a career or an area that there's no like shifting off the clock, because it's like the scalability in all aspects is just like there, and it's all up to you and your potential and how you structure things. More important, which one of you guys is married? Yeah, so like you would take a person like him, right, and he can go out and he can do well for 5-10 years, but then he can get divorced and then his whole portfolio's gone and then he has to start back over again. Yeah, and you're paying for attorneys with pre-tax dollars oftentimes. So let's say you spend, let's say a really good divorce probably is like $500,000 in attorney fee. You're paying $800,000 to $900,000 worth of gross earning. See? So yeah, structure is very important, right? So before you even start on this journey of what you guys are doing, you want to look at like your work being able to be like not only very productive and successful, but like protected as well, you know? So you want to like negotiate a lot of these things in advance before you even start it. Yeah, as much as possible. I enjoy it, but I like going to the places that, you know, that aren't as touristy. Yeah, I'm sitting there in you know, corner in a bar somewhere, something like that, and then you see other foreigners come and you're just like, ugh. Yeah, exactly. That's where I like to be at the most. I don't like to be where all like the touristy parts are, you know? You get to the point where you're like, oh, I don't want to see any tourists here. Get out of my land. Yeah, because you go there for like peace and serenity and not so, you know, Paloma. Yeah, I love that drink. That's my favorite. Yeah, I don't drink often, but when I do, it's a Paloma. Yeah, anything tequila I'm game for. You know, you guys are at the point where you're not like residents, right? Because you guys already have like assets or at least 401ks, IRAs, retirement, saving, houses, cars, you know, everything like that. So I would say this. I would say if you're not happy now on the road that you're on with what you have now, chances are in 10 years, if you keep saving and keep playing it safe the way you are now, if you just have a little bit more or more of what you're doing now and what you have now, probably not going to be very happy. That's my, so I'm of the opinion that basically I'm in it for the experience. Yes, I'm not here to play it safe. I'm not here for, you know, a good time or to just hang out and be comfortable. I came here to Earth to have an experience. Yeah. And so I'll give you one example. You guys ready for this? So when I was like 23, 24, I was in the Midwest, middle of nowhere. And it was a property management company for the most part, right? But we would help our owners. The idea was this: if I can have these owners keep buying more and more property, then our property management investment is going to grow, right? So I would go out and I would look for properties for them to buy, like packages of properties to buy, right? And oftentimes when we buy these packages, like 10, 14 properties worth like $50,000 to $70,000 each, they'd need a lot of work to them. They'd need to like junk removed, you know? And so I'll never forget one weekend, I was driving around looking for deals or whatever, and this guy named Gary, this guy named Gary, big old country guy. I'm talking like if you were to look up a character of what it would look like of middle America, like this guy would be it. I'm talking overalls, half bald, 6'3", served in the military, came back after 3 or 4 years, came home and bought himself 10 acres, put 2 manufactured homes on it, living in the Midwest, like right opposite of the Missouri River. Yeah. And so I'm out here driving around, you know, and these are the characters that you meet, right? And it's very interesting. So then I'm sitting there driving around and I feel this like tap on my shoulder. I didn't even like notice anything. I didn't, hear nothing because I'm sitting here looking at this property, checking it out, whatever. And I get this tap on my shoulder and he says, "Hey, how you doing, Ben?" Like that, Ben. And I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" He says, "Hey, check this out. I'm cleaning out this house and this property right over here and the seller's over there. And I told that you buy property." And I said, "Oh, really? All right, let's go talk to her, Gary." And he says, "Hold on, she's gonna come back. I gotta go haul a load right now back to my house and I'll be right back." And I said, "How long is it gonna take you?" He says, "Well, if I go now, probably be like an hour or two." And I said, "Well, I got time. I'll just go with you," right? Like, oh yeah, I'll go with this guy. So I get up in there and before I know it, I'm in this big truck, like a big U-Haul truck, and it's just like 36 feet long and we're over here cleaning out junk. And he takes me out to his like farm, 10 acres, right along the Amazonia River, or the Missouri River, Amazonia, Missouri. And I'm sitting there in this U-Haul. We're just like, it has those seats that you're bouncing, and you're bouncing and you're feeling the wind and you're looking at the river and you're like, where the heck am I at right now? I never would have imagined my life like this in the middle of the Midwest, And I go out and I see these like big fences with tires, like black tires filled up all the way up to the top, like all the way up to the top. Like his fence was tires. That's how he built his fence. And I go in there and I say, "Hey, you want me to open the gate?" He says, No, don't open the gate. I'll go do it, So then he opens the gate and there is like junk all over the place, And I was like, dang, now I know why he charges so like cheap, because he doesn't dump anything. He just takes it out to his property and he just dumps it all in his yard, right? And so I'm going in there and I had him clean out a property for us. Yeah. And it was just all right there. And I said, oh my God, like, can we get in trouble for this? I'm like sitting there like sweating, and like those were a lot of my thoughts. And he was one of the nicest guys, the best people in the world. And he would deal find for us. So you run into these people and these characters, right? All walks of life, all different backgrounds. And you see how many people benefit off your transaction. Yeah. And it was one of the coolest things. It was one of the coolest things. And so he would clean out the properties and stuff, but also he found us and would introduce us to people who were willing to sell because they were just evicting tenants, or they had, some people that were bad tenant, right? Yeah. And he was just awesome. Oh yeah, we would invite him out to the company parties and everything. He had 2 boys, 2 little redhead boys, and we were introduced to him by another guy who was like a lot older than him, but he passed away. Yeah. So then Gary got all of our business. Yeah. That's how it goes. That's really how it goes. My like thought process is, right? Like, you guys are gonna invest in real estate because you guys want something exciting, is my understanding, and you want to make some more money. But also at the same time, like, you're gonna have, if you stretch your limits in any way, you're gonna probably have some deals that run, downhill possibly, and it's possible, right? And so always make sure that the small guys are paid. I'm talking about the painters, the contractors, the concrete guys, the pavement, right? People like Gary, like I just talked about. Yeah, because they're not in the business of collecting money. They're in the business of doing a service, right? So I would much rather pay the small guys, make sure they're paid, they're taken care of, and then negotiate my terms with the bank or the lender versus messing with them, right? And maybe paying the mortgage, but that's just my opinion. You want to take care of those guys because those guys are the ones that are going to help you restart your business when things go bad. Yeah, exactly. It's a process like anything. It's a process. You do have to be like, I don't know how to explain it, but you just have to want to do it, and you just have to be excited to do it. And it's amazing when you have friends that are involved in it as well, because then you can actually like bounce ideas off each other. You know, the day that you guys close your transaction, you go out, have dinner, eat some steaks, have some drinks, you know, and it's just an awesome experience. Don't get me wrong, it's stressful though. Don't let this hat fool you, right? Yeah. Like there's some I've lost some hair probably a few times just thinking about deals, right? And the things that have like gone wrong, or like things that are working on, or like, man, when you're in the hunt, yeah, it's like the blue wave. It's like a surfer when he's riding the blue wave and he's in that like tunnel, because you just got tunnel vision, literally. Like that's all you care about is this one thing, and that's all you're focused. Oh, and it's great. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Possibly. I mean, they referred. No, not at all. I did get scared one time. Oh yeah. They were like, yeah, the question was like, any mental health concerns or illnesses, you know? Yeah, and I said, you know what? I've been accused of being a narcissist one time. Yeah, and I was like, I got really scared. And the lady was like, what do you mean you got really scared? I said, I went home and I looked up all the positive characteristics of somebody with narcissism, and I got all of them, you know? I was like, positive thinker, ambitious, handsome, charismatic. And I just ran off the list, and she just started dying laughing. It was hilarious. I said, I think I got all of them. I think I got them, you know? And she just started dying laughing, and it was one of the coolest moments. Yeah. Well, that's what it is, right? Like taking every problem or every like painful moment, and you just kind of turn it into progress or profit, right? That's all this is. You're like, dang, you know what? I spent 2 years buying properties very high mark, and now the market's down 20-30%. I gotta learn. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna learn from that mistake, and I'm gonna buy 10 times that many properties. Yeah. I don't got a belt on right now, or a belt, but you know, you gotta tighten your belt up a little bit, right? Yeah, so essentially what you'll do is you'll connect with her, right? All the payments and everything are gonna go through her. So you guys will set that up. You'll get set up with your portals. And once you get all your EIN information and everything set up, your preliminary documents, which are already put together, then from there, if you guys need anything else, you just kind of reach out. But once you get to me, you're pretty much already handed off to the bank relationship managers. And at that point, you guys are ready to start doing transactions. Yeah, and then essentially we're your tech support. Yes, we are your tech support, your tech team, your back-end offices. Yeah. Oh, everybody, you know, in medicine, and now that like, I think I first started hearing about virtual assistants, I want to say, and VAs in like 2016 with answering services stuff. I think that's when I really started figuring out. And we started putting them in our real estate business. So I said, you know what? We're not hiring anybody else. We're moving the second accountant up to the leasing position, I think that was, or a maintenance position, like a more income producing position. And we're hiring nobody else. And everything is going to just be outsourced. And then I think it was like a year later, that's when we exited. Yeah, now everything's like whatever I can do on a daily basis myself. It's all built on the premise of like E-Myth. Are you guys familiar with E-Myth? E-Myth is essentially like I would say an entrepreneur or a solo entrepreneur's like path towards optimizing process in their business and replacing themselves. Because at the end of the day, right, like you're gonna be looking at Zillow and he's gonna be talking to bank, right? But then eventually, hopefully it gets to the point where you're no longer having to do that, and you're no longer having to do that. You can have employees, staff members that can replace you, and then you guys can focus on the bigger stuff, which primarily has to do with hiring, firing, training, recruiting people. Yeah, that's kind of the evolution of this process. That's kind of like the pinnacle, you know, and you start finding deal finders, you rent an office space, all that. But that's if you guys want to get to the top levels, you know? You can always be that guy like in the Columbia jacket at 60 years old with $4 or $5 million worth of paid off property, driving a Prius or a Coma. Yeah, like it doesn't have to be like this grand scale massive business either, you know, but a lot of the principles do overlap. I've learned. Zell, Z-E-L-L. No, I'm pretty open with who I follow. So I follow Sharif Medawar a lot, and I follow Henry Eisenstein a lot. Those two I follow a lot. And then I also, more so philosophy wise, I follow the Zell, Mr. Zell, Z-E-L-L. Yeah, because I got my ass handed to me in like 22, 23. Oh yeah, definitely. Rocked. I survived, right? Yeah, I survived, but I got rocked. Yeah, now it's like, well, I can't control that part. That's the part. That's where it's like, hey, God, take this. So it's not my problem. The problem, yeah, now the problem that I would face is if I took all those lessons and didn't then use them to expand and grow bigger. Yeah, so now you know like protocols and treatment protocols, right? It's kind of the same in real estate. When you look at property, like there's protocol, and you input those protocols and you create them for yourself. So my protocols are according to Zell. Instead, it used to be be a very debt heavy protocol, right? Yeah, it's still debt heavy, right? Still leverage, but the deal, the types of asset, the terms are different. Yeah, so now my protocol is this, my philosophy is this. You know, people say Warren Buffett is such an amazing businessman and all this stuff. He's, you know, I saw a video the other day where they're sharing like, or talking about frauds and business that they don't buy. You know, they own insurance business who deny all kinds of claims and all kinds of stuff. So it's like, what are we really talking about here? Yeah, so when you own an insurance business and you want to like, you know, act like you're morally superior to other people in business, that's when it kind of gets like, all right, the numbers are amazing, you know, but at the end of the day, they're still like flesh, right? And that's a great equalizer. Yeah, well, it's really nice meeting you guys. I really appreciated it. And anything that you need, let me know or let her know. All the information is going to be on your signal and you'll have your access to your portal there. And anything I can do to help or anything, you know, our team can really do to help you, please let me know. Moving forward, I would just ask, this is something that I kind of gearing more people towards, like if your goals are X amount of dollars anyway and you're shooting for this number, it's better to start off learning and being at that number. Like when I was 22, 23 years old, my number was like 10K a month. That was like, wow, huge, because I would have a mortgage back then and yeah, I'd have like a mortgage. Like my dream house was like $2,000 or $3,000 and I could live on maybe 2,000 or 3,000 and then the rest would be profit. So like 10K was like this. So I only need 40 properties in the Midwest in order to get this 10K a month, right? Yeah, so if your numbers are to replace your salary as a physician, like 500 to 700K, you better kind of step it up in terms of your investment target. Yeah. All right, guys, it was really nice meeting you. No, anything you need, the only thing that I don't share is attorneys. So the lady that I work with now, she's probably more so. What ends up happening with her now, the way we've kind of set her up in the platform, is she essentially oftentimes acts as like a mediator between business partners. So like when you're negotiating your partnership agreements, yeah, and you both hire your own attorneys, she'll kind of be the mediator of some sort, kind of negotiate that partnership. So if you guys want her, yeah, she's been around since I was like 22. All right, awesome. Yeah, anything you need, let me know. All right, take care. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, that was great. Hopefully they actually do it. All right, let me know if you need anything else. I will be around.